We got a special visitor with us today. We got a big old fish. See that? So we've been talking about the story of Jonah, haven't we? And we're going to keep talking about that story today. And I need a volunteer to be Jonah today. Okay, Derek is our Jonah. Now let's review what we talked about last week, okay? What was the name of the city that Jonah was to go and preach to? Do you remember the name of that city? Started with an N. Nineveh. Okay. Did Jonah obey God's call? No, right? He got on a ship to go the opposite direction from where he was supposed to go, right? And God sent a storm, and the sailors were terrified. They were throwing everything overboard, and they were calling out to whatever god they worshipped, trying to get help. And finally, they discovered from Jonah that he was the reason why the storm had happened, right? So Jonah said, "Throw me overboard, and the storm will stop." Now, Tristan was our Jonah last week, and remember we threw him over the boat into the sea? Okay, Derek is our Jonah today. God had a plan that once Jonah got into the water and started sinking down into the depths of the sea, that he was going to save Jonah's life. Okay? God specially picked out a fish to go and swallow Jonah. So, Jonah, you need to get inside the belly of the fish because you were swallowed. Okay? All right, he's in the belly of the fish. Okay? Now, when he was inside the fish, he was alive in there for 3 days and 3 nights. What do you think was inside the stomach with Jonah? Have you ever thought about that? Katie, what do you think was in there? What's dead bones from like fish and stuff that it had eaten? Yeah? What else do you think was in there? What do you think, Tristan? Crabs? Okay. You know, it kind of depends on what that fish liked to eat, but you know what? I bet you it was really slimy and gross and smelly. You know, if you can picture being maybe stuck inside a sleeping bag with all kinds of garbage inside of it and slimy stuff, that's probably what it felt like for Jonah. Now, Jonah was in the belly of the fish, and when he was in there, Jonah prayed to God. So we're going to listen to Jonah's prayer.
I called to the Lord out of my distress, and he answered me. I was sinking down to the bottom of the sea. I was about to die. But I remembered the Lord. I prayed to him, and he rescued me. Salvation is from the Lord.
All right. In that really terrible situation, Jonah prayed to the Lord, and because God rescued him by having the fish swallow him, right? But that's not the end of the story. You guys know what vomiting is, right? Let's all kind of pretend we're going to vomit, okay? How about this? We'll pretend to vomit at the same time, and at that moment, Jonah is going to come shooting out of the fish, because that's how God got Jonah out of there. He made the fish vomit, and Jonah came out onto the dry land. So on the count of 3, let's all pretend to vomit, okay? Okay, we're kind of starting to gag. It's coming. 1, 2, 3. And there's Jonah. Now, do you think he smelled good? Nope. I bet he reeked. I bet he looked weird too after 3 days in the stomach of a fish, right? But God was being really good to Jonah because Jonah had disobeyed God and ran away, and yet God saved his life. And here's Jonah back at shore, and I wonder what's going to happen next. That's our story for next week. But God was good to Jonah. He saved his life. He was giving him another chance. And here's Jonah, a prophet. God is going to have another message for him, and we'll see what Jonah does. All right.